Hermits, it's Dara here. I'm going to try again with this whole reading vlog situation. So if you watched my last reading vlog, thank you so much. It was a shit show, so I appreciate your support. But things didn't go well. I had this great intention of really like chronicling my reading experience, checking in with you guys a lot, and in the end I basically didn't read anything, and I kept like extending the length of the vlog, attempting to like cram in some sort of reading, and it just didn't happen. And then you know that as soon as I finished it, I was like on a reading frenzy. So because I'm right now in the middle of a book that I'm really enjoying, I thought I'm gonna ride this wave. I'm gonna start a vlog and see if I've then got something to talk about. So that's what we're doing here. Right now I am reading a book called The Wife Upstairs, which is a modern retelling of Jane Eyre, which is one of my absolute favourites. I've read it dozens of times. That's not an exaggeration, dozens of times. So anything that is inspired by Jane Eyre or influenced by Jane Eyre, I will give it a good bash. So I'm halfway through, really enjoying it so far. I will definitely give you some more in-depth thoughts once I wrap that up. But I have also read a couple of really great books already this month. So this is my third book of July. The first one was People We Meet on Vacation, which is the US title. I believe in the UK it's You and Me on Vacation. 5 out of 5, loved it. And then I also read 7 Days in June. Yes, I read it in July, which bugs me no end. I actually bought it because my birthday is the 7th of June and it's called 7 Days in June, and that's the kind of narcissist I am. But then I didn't end up getting to it in June. And that book, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, like there is no chef's kiss big enough for me to talk about that book. When I was about, I would say, a third of the way through, I started thinking to myself, would it be extra for me to go onto Goodreads and reduce every star rating I've given a book by 1 point so that this can be like a clear standout winner, like this is my only 5-star? That's the level of good it was. That is the level of good it was. And I didn't do that because I feel like I've rated like 700 books on Goodreads, and that would be a phenomenal waste of time. But I just need you to know how good 7 Days in June is, and that I think everybody should read it. It's that good. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that book and go and get back to this book, and hopefully actually have some shit to talk about during this vlog. So I'm gonna go and I will check in with you later. Hey guys, just checking in, sat here chilling with my puppy, my face mask, my book, or books, because I've actually finished The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, which is the one I mentioned earlier. It's a retelling of Jane Eyre and it was fabulous. It was fabulous. I gave it a 4-star and I will tell you why. So like I mentioned before, I am like a Jane Eyre super fan. I love Jane Eyre. I love the original. I love the retellings. I have very strong feelings about dramatization. That's a topic for another day. But what I found with most retellings of Jane Eyre is that they stick very closely to the structure of the original, which can be great if you just want a reminder of a story you love so well. But if you're looking to be gripped, if you're looking to be compelled to keep reading, if you're looking to be truly entertained, then throwing something different in there, adding a few twists of your own is immaculate. It's just the way to go. And I feel this way of any retelling, not just Jane Eyre. Like some retellings that of classics that stick with the structure but change some important elements work beautifully well, such as Jane Steele. That's another Jane Eyre retelling that I've read that was exquisite. With The Wife Upstairs, it was a modern day retelling, but all of the characters were completely different. Some were darker, some were twistier, some seemed lighter. It was just a very different vibe. It was almost like Jane Eyre crossed with Revenge, the TV show, crossed with Desperate Housewives, which is just a stunning combination. It's stunning. And while, yes, I did guess the twist, it was still so well done. And I feel like I guessed the twist because that's what I wanted to be the ending. And I got my way, so I was thoroughly pleased with that read. So I returned that one to the library and made a start on a couple of others. So I'm loving the Borrow Box library app, by the way, and I'm just trying to make my way through some of the things that I've borrowed because they're all due back now. So Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes. I started that and I'm about 20 pages in, and so this is another kind of retelling vibe. This is telling the stories of a series of women from Greek mythology and diving into their backstory that isn't really talked about. So as you know, or you may not know, in a lot of Greek mythology that's what do I want to say, that has sort of made it into like modern consciousness, like a lot of the stories that we're aware of portray the women as either victims, wives, or monsters. They're not these like powerful, strong characters in their own right, which is absolutely what they were. And in this book, the author is telling us, I think, 10 different stories of the real women of Greek mythology. However, she has written it from a very academic point of view. So there's a lot of like classical literature references. There's a lot of very like dense explanation, which is like, I love my history and I love my literature and I love all of that stuff, but right now I'm feeling just like getting sucked into something really compelling and that's really going to take me away. So I've parked that one for now. I will go back to it, but it's probably one that I'm going to just pick up and read a few pages at a time, maybe a chapter at a time, rather than just like sitting down and wanting to power through the whole thing. So I have moved on to Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I've never read anything by Riley Sager before, but I have seen a lot of people mention him here on BookTube, and there's a very divided opinion. Some people are like, Riley Sager's so formulaic, like I always guess what's going on. And then there's the like the other team who's like, oh my god, Riley Sager is the best. His thrillers are the best. I have no idea where I stand. So I'm like 3 pages in. I will keep you informed. But that's what I'm going to dive into right now because I just feel like being gripped. So it is what it is. What do I have? So I might tell you the other options that I have from the library too. So The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. This is a romance that I've heard great things about. Girl A by Abigail Dean. Thriller that looks so good. Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Das. So that seems like it's going to be somewhat romantic but somewhat musical, which is a pure delight, I'm sure. The cover's stunning. That's, let's be real, the real reason that I picked that book. And then I have a couple of audiobooks rented also. But for now, I'm sticking with Lock Every Door. We'll see how we go, and I'll keep you posted. And can we also just give me a virtual high five for actually reading during this reading vlog? It's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal. Okay, it's now Friday evening and I have just finished Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. And I mean, I would say it was like a 3-star. I had fun reading it. I felt like the first maybe half, maybe a little bit more, was really good with building up this suspense and like opening all of these loops and like inspiring me to have all of these questions. And then like the end was very, like, I don't know, it was I mean, it wasn't bad, but I feel like it wasn't as like shocking or thrilling or like gripping as it could have been because the setup was really quite well done. Twist wise, like I guessed who early-ish on. I didn't necessarily guess what. Yeah, that was a somewhat like random turn of events. Again, like not bad, not bad. I just think maybe it wasn't quite as thrilling and quite as eerie as I was expecting, just based on what I've heard other people say about both his writing in general and this book specifically. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a good read. Definitely happy that I'm actually reading some books during this reading vlog. I haven't decided what's next. I think maybe the Kiss Quotient is going to be next. I'm trying to work my way through some of these library books that I put on hold ages ago and then just got this massive influx of ebooks, and most of them are due back within the next few days. So the Kiss Quotient I want to read, Girl A I want to read, but I think maybe I'm feeling romance tonight, but I might see if I can get through both of those this weekend. Who knows? We'll see how things go. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Lock Every Door. I'm going to go make myself some dinner. I'm going to watch Love Island, and then I might start my next book. Hey Hermit, it is Saturday and I've had a lovely chilled day so far. I'm sat here in my pyjamas. I've just been cuddling dogs and reading books, and it's been lovely. I needed it. But I am here to say that I've decided to end this vlog a little bit early because as I was eating my breakfast this morning, I was watching some videos, some booktube videos, and I came across one that was all about a readathon that starts today. And this, like, I've never actually participated in a readathon before, but this one literally ticks all of my boxes. It's all of my favourite things rolled into one. So I want to vlog that separately. So I'm going to bring this one to a close now and just quickly review all of the books that I've read during these few days that I've been doing this one. So I think I kicked off when I'd just started The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. So I gave you a little bit of an overview already, but I'm just gonna like summarize everything that I've read all in one go. So The Wife Upstairs, modern day retelling of Jane Eyre, impeccably done, because while it took inspiration from the original in creative ways, such as giving very different characters the same names as certain characters from the original and sticking with key plot points but really like twisting them on its head and doing something really different with them, I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was both touching that nostalgia button for me because I love Jane Eyre, and also keeping me really intrigued because it was different. And there were parts of it that yes, I did guess, but that's because I have been reading thrillers and crime fiction and all of that sort of all of like the puzzling books for years and years and years, and I have an obsession with also watching dramatizations of thrillers and crime dramas. So I feel like my mind looks for the patterns and goes into things like looking to solve it. So I did guess the twist. However, it was wonderfully done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I will definitely be recommending it to pretty much most of the people I know, because I know a fair few Jane Eyre fans, and I also know a fair few thriller fans, and I will definitely be suggesting this one to both groups of people. I really loved the main character, and here's why. The original Jane Eyre, when I first read Jane Eyre, I loved her. I could relate to her so much, but I was a child when I first read Jane Eyre. As an adult, when I've had to go, and so I studied at a university as well as just like loving it personally, and the more I reread it and the more I pulled that story apart, I realised how, what's the word I want to use, almost puritanical Jane was and judgmental Jane was, and kind of like one-dimensional good girl that Jane was. And that made me love her a little bit less. Whereas this version of Jane, she has depth, she has secrets, she has shady parts of her character. And I love her because despite that, you're rooting for her, you're on her side. There are points in the story where you're like, has she done some really dark stuff? And you're asking yourself that question, but at the same time you're like, I actually don't care, I'm still on her team. And I think that's a really wonderful thing to be able to do as an author, to create somebody who was so imperfect, so messed up, so dark, and yet so appealing. So she kind of had the vibe of, and like funnily enough, the name, if you've read Jane Doe by Victoria Helen Stone, I believe, there's like a very similar vibe in the Janes, and I love both of them. So that was The Wife Upstairs, highly recommend. I'll pop all of the links to the books that I've mentioned in the description thingy below, so you can go and check them out if you wish to. The second book that I read during this vlog was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. The overall feeling that I've come away with is disappointment. I think I built it up in my mind because there were a few booktubers who I've watched videos in which they talk about this book as like their favourite thriller ever, the best thriller they've ever read. And so I had these expectations that it was going to shock me, it was going to thrill me, it was going to like set my nervous system on fire, and it didn't. Like, it wasn't a bad book, it wasn't bad. There were just a few patterns, a few tropes that were extremely recognisable to somebody who has in fact read a lot of thrillers. Like, I knew who not to trust. I knew, I mean, let me just give you a little bit of the premise. So when you read any synopsis of this book or hear anybody talk about it, you will hear them use the phrase, "It sounded too good to be true." When you hear that phrase anywhere, in life and in books, like, immediately your brain switched on. It's like, of course it's too good to be true. Something dark's going to happen here. So you already have this layer of just like knowing that bad shit's going to happen. Anyway, the premise is that there's this young woman who loses her job, has to move out of her apartment, gets dumped, has no family, has no support network, blah, 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 blah. And she sees this ad in the paper to apartment sit this apartment in like the most bougie building in Manhattan. And she's going to get paid $1,000 a week to do that. And all she has to do is live there, like not stay away, just be in the apartment. And she's allowed to like leave during the day and stuff, but she has to spend every night there while she's working there. And then like when she moves in, she's told that there are these rules. So for example, not allowed to have visitors, not allowed to like speak to the other residents unless they directly speak to her first. Like, it's just like there's weirdness in this building. But you know, she had no money. She's heard of this building before because it was actually the setting of her favourite childhood book. And so she brushes all of that aside until fast forward. And like, bear in mind, the entire plot of this book is like so it lasts 6 days. So she's not even there a week. And all of this stuff just starts happening. Even during day one, stuff starts happening. And you might think, you know, you've been there less than 24 hours and you're seeing all of these red flags. Run, woman, run. But she doesn't. Okay, it is what it is. She needs some money. But then I think she's been there a couple of days and she hears a scream in the middle of the night. She runs downstairs to see what it was, and everyone's like, oh no, nothing's wrong, nobody screamed, blah, 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 blah. But she knows which apartment it came from. And then the next day, she goes down to that person's apartment to check on them, and she's told that this person has moved out. Suspicious, right? And then she like goes on this little quest to find out what happened to this woman who has disappeared. But obviously one of the rules is don't speak to the residents, don't ask the residents questions, they like their privacy, blah, 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 blah. And so she is on her little investigation trying to find out what happens, and then like stuff starts happening to her, and it's this whole thing. And like I said, it wasn't a bad book, I was just expecting more. And that thing happened that I think often happens with this genre specifically, so with thrillers, is that the setup and the suspense is done very slowly and very masterfully for the first chunk of the book, and then like the climax and the resolution almost feels scrambled, like it's crammed into this very like relatively small chunk of the book. And so yeah, it stops you from being able to enjoy that thrill as much. I feel like when the pacing is really perfect, you need that like steady build, steady build, steady build, but then you hit the peak and you need this sustained period of like action and drama and like chills and thrills and all of that stuff to really get that buzz that is possible from a thriller. You can tell that I have lots of flaky thoughts about thrillers in general, can't you? Anyway, all that to say, it was fine. Like, it's not like it was so bad that I'm like, I will never read anything by Riley Sager ever again. No, I just had slightly higher expectations based on what I'd heard, but it's fine. And then the third book, which I haven't actually finished, I'm probably about halfway through, is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. Oh, love, love, love. I love him, I love her, I love the premise. I love that the vibe is like Eleanor Oliphant mixed with Pretty Woman with a dash of Crazy Rich Asians. Like, it's just so delightful. Smutty, so if you're squeamish about that kind of thing, not for you, but I'm enjoying it so much. It's so well written, so easy to read. The characters are all just such a delight, really dimensional. There's just enough like depth and drama to really get invested in them, and I'm definitely excited to finish that one. I'm probably going to finish it today, but that will be part of the next vlog because, like I said, I want to get that started as soon as I can. Anyway, that is me wrapping up the reads from this little reading vlog. I'm just happy that I actually read some books this time. If you watched my last vlog, you know that I was just talking about the fact that I wasn't reading the whole time. So, but you know what? That happens. Like, we get in those slumps, we have busy times in our lives, and sometimes reading falls to the bottom of the priority list. And that's normal. That's fine, right? So, let's not beat ourselves up for that too much. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off, make myself another cup of tea, and get started on my next vlog. But if you've enjoyed this, if you've enjoyed me rambling on about what a thriller should and shouldn't be, then please do feel free to like this video, hit subscribe, and come back for more. I would also love to know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned during this vlog. What were your thoughts? Obviously, don't leave spoilers, because if somebody else is reading the comments, I don't want their reading experience to be ruined. But what did you think? Have you read The Wife Upstairs? Have you read Lock Every Door? Or have you read The Kiss Quotient? I want to know, and I want to hear your thoughts. So drop them below, and without further ado, I will let you get back to your day.